You are about to see a clip that was made by me, David Hoffman, filmmaker, back at a time, well, a very special time in the evolution of smoking cigarettes in America. Girls were smoking. Women had always smoked cigarettes, but high school girls were adopting cigarettes at an alarming rate. So the American Cancer Society gave me the chance to talk to women to try to influence girls not to smoke. Now, this is interesting. What they were showing in schools at that time, you may have seen this, is lungs that were all black. Eek. And people with holes in their throats talking through gadgets. It wasn't working. Girls were taking up cigarettes in spite of that. Why? Because part of the reason for the cigarette was rebellion, and part of the reason for the cigarette was cool. So what I tried to do is do something that was somewhat different. If you're a smoker, I'd like to know what you think. If you're not a smoker, would this have worked on you? Would this have kept you from smoking?
The film you're about to see is not a drama. It's not a story. It's not a piece of entertainment. It's simply ordinary women talking about a personal problem. A problem that on a worldwide basis is killing more of us now than ever before. The problem is cigarette smoking, and the people are real.
It was 1967, okay? In fact, I started smoking April 17th of 1967. Okay, that's when I had my first real cigarette that I inhaled, okay? Before that, I had smoked out behind the barn and just, blow it out. But that was the first one, and I remember it because we're standing on Main Street, a friend of mine and I, and this guy went around the Rotary, and he was with his parents, and it was someone from school, and he was the big jock at school, and so it was, we thought we were cool because when they came back around, we had a cigarette.
I took my first drag of a cigarette when I was 8. So I'm 23 now, so how long is that? I forget.
It makes me relaxed. I enjoy it. It's part of my relaxation, my time to myself.
After you make love, one of the nicest things about making love is, if you're both smokers, is to sit back and both of you share a cigarette together.
I got a job on a major newspaper in Houston. I eventually and very quickly got to the point that I never turned to a typewriter without lighting a cigarette.
Oh, just something to do with your hands.
It gave me something to do with my hands.
It's something to do with my hands. If I'm at an interview, it's more acceptable to smoke a cigarette than it is to, take out my pen and paper and, draw little creatures or something.
On school mornings when I get up, I have a cigarette before I get out of bed. Before I even go to the bathroom, I have a cigarette. And then I have one on the way to school, and then I have one the second day I get out of school, and that's where I probably have the most. From after school until dinner, I just constantly smoke. Then I smoke doing my homework after dinner. And on the weekends, I smoke from the moment I get up all through the day. I smoke most of the day. Whenever I'm doing anything, driving, I smoke. Everything I do, I smoke. Well, guys, they go. That's how they hold it like this, and they, like they're a movie person. Girls just, hold it like that, and girls are much more, they smoke. Very prim and proper.
Really long cigarettes, something sort of sexy about it. And to blow the smoke through your nose or to French inhale, it's a sign of class. I just can direct my energy through the cigarette as opposed to allowing it to go through my body and be seen that way. So, I can do little things like that and just play with the cigarette.
Okay, I'm nervous, and the first thing I have to do is have a cigarette. That's going to make me feel better. It didn't help anything at all.
Well, it was about a month ago that I told her to stop, but she stopped, and it was when Larry was still living with her, and she stopped smoking. My mother stopped smoking, but Larry didn't. he kept on smoking. Then when Larry went upstairs, me and my brother took his cigarettes and ran them underwater.
When I quit, the first day I feel like I'm in control. You know, I've quit this horrible habit, and now I'm in control again. And then the second day, it's like, don't come near me, kids, because I don't know what I'm going to do to you. Okay? Don't talk to me, don't look at me. The 8th day is always the worst for me. For some reason, I eat myself sick. I scream at everyone. I don't answer the phone. I lock the doors. I lock myself away, hopefully not seeing anyone with a cigarette, because if I do, I know I'm going to grab it and smoke it.
You don't know you're becoming physically hooked on cigarettes. You don't know. Because it happens slowly, gradually. You're enjoying the cigarette, and you're having them when you want them, so you have no idea that you're becoming addicted to it. And you think you can quit whenever you want, but you just don't want to right now because you enjoy it. I used to be able to sing, and I took lessons singing, and I was developing a fairly good high soprano, and I hoped to develop maybe even into a coloratura, who knows. But I decided to smoke rather than to be able to sing. I didn't really decide to, but it was just easier. I couldn't give it up. And so now I'm 33 years old, and I'm not going to be able to sing like that ever. I will never sing opera. I am too old to learn, but I've quit. But I'm too old now.
You know, I smoke when I get home from work. It's just nonstop. And during the night, I wake up every couple hours and have a cigarette. Fell asleep with a cigarette, I guess. And then my mother woke up. She walked in the room. My nightgown just burned off me, and I had first, second, and third degree burns all over me. And it didn't stop me either. I can't take a deep breath. I cough all night long. It literally hurts in my chest constantly. But I can't seem to stop. I guess I don't care.
At some point, I decided I really wanted to live. And coming to that realization made me decide that I had to make some changes in my life. I left a bad marriage, I started a new business, and I quit smoking all in about 3 months. And that was 2 years ago, and I'm still not smoking. My business is successful, and I'm living alone with my son and feeling very good about myself. Smoking for me was a form of suicide, and almost an acceptable form of suicide. It was as if I got cancer and died of smoking, it would be all right. Nobody would be mad at me. They'd feel sorry for me. And boy, I wanted out of life a lot of times.
Out of my 6 children, only 2 ever smoked, and the others were going, I can't stand it, Mom, knock it off, will you? But I'd say, look, I live here too. I may be raising you, but I live here too, and I'm going to be comfortable and do my own thing. Now we're discriminated against. We're the oddballs of the world, the people that smoke. And they blame us for pollution when it's really cars and factories. And they say it spreads cancer. Well, a lot of people that never smoked have cancer. And there's rain pollution. This whole world is going right down the bucket because of pollution, but it doesn't mean it's all cigarettes. But we can't smoke in grocery stores. We're the housewives of the world. We enjoy going out, buying our groceries, planning our meals. We enjoy being able to smoke in a supermarket while we're figuring how much everything costs and will we have enough at checkout. And now we cannot smoke in any of the stores or public places.
I cough. And I do cough up mucus. I used to get, every winter I'd have bronchitis at least twice. I would have pneumonia. I would have any upper respiratory disease, whatever you can think of, I would have it. I had read this article on smoking where a physician said If you smoke, you get cancer or emphysema or whatever. If you don't smoke, then you gain weight and you have to die of a heart attack. There's not, he felt there wasn't much choice. There is medication, there's a chewing gum that's out. By the time you get through this chewing gum, it's probably cost you about $200. Now, you have to you start off chewing about 30 pieces a day. It's very difficult if you work with the public. Chewing 30 pieces a day. But there again, I'm rationalizing because I probably spend much more than $200 a year on cigarettes, which I can't afford. So I'm rationalizing.
My husband had emphysema. He really had it bad. Because very few nights that he was able to lie down. I don't think it was an addiction with me because I quit. I just wanted to, and I just stopped. Whatever I feel like that I want to do, I can. I don't like nothing take it, have power over me.
But I was sitting in a chair in this room one night in February 1985 and just doing the sort of thing like, looking at TV or reading and doing things like this. And all of a sudden my hand went right here and there was a lump. And I knew it shouldn't be there. It was very small, but it simply shouldn't be there. And that was a Saturday. And the following Monday or Tuesday, I was at a doctor's office. And even though I had been x-rayed in December, there was the shadow on the lung. And he said, words to the effect of, oh my God, this is not good. So he sent me for a CAT scan, and it was there. And this means it was already metastasized into the lymph system. My first reaction was rage. I shook my fist at God because I quit 12 years ago. Damn it, I quit. I should have had a break. And, that's exactly the way I felt. This wasn't fair, but then I have to remind myself, which is a firm belief of mine, that only teenagers think life is fair.
I think people smoke for different reasons. I think some people smoke socially. I know people who smoke socially, and they're not addicted. They just smoke when they're around people who smoke. I think some people smoke for that reason, and some people smoke just because they started with their friends and then they keep doing it. Otherwise, I don't think people smoke because they want to be smoking. They want to be. I don't think anybody wants to be smoking. I think people just smoke because they started and they can't stop.
I was told as I was dropped at the University of Texas on the dormitory steps to never come home with a cigarette. And I thought that was a very kind of sad thing for somebody to tell me when I was going off on what I hoped was the big adventure of my life. But right or wrong, whatever my father meant by saying it, I watched the car go around the corner and I went to the corner drugstore and bought a package of cigarettes. I had never really fully thought it out or ever thought to myself that I would begin smoking. But this was rebellion. This was, you can't tell me what to do. I'm grown up. I'm going to show you I'm grown up. I'll do this. And 30 years later, I was still smoking.
I'm addicted to cigarettes. I have been since I was 5 years old. I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm not proud of it, because I don't want anybody else to pick them up when they're 5. In fact, when I've caught my kids when they were 5, I'll say, all right, take a deep breath and inhale it all the way down. And when they throw up, I'll say, you want another one? And they say, no. And I said, good. Because I don't want you to smoke. I don't want you to be hooked like me.
I paid attention to the warnings on the pack, but not... By that time, I was already hooked, and I figured... And I felt all right. I felt as good as a smoking person feels. So it didn't really make any difference to me. When they put on that it did affect pregnancy, or could affect the pregnancy, then it meant something to me. Because at that time was when I was starting to have kids. Oh, yeah. I had a lot of problems. I had 8 miscarriages before I finally got a live birth. And the doctor finally said to me, you know, maybe cigarette smoking does have something to do with it. So I just quit. And as soon as he was born, I started right up again, which now I'm feeling bad about, because if I quit, I mean, I had quit for 8 months and didn't have any side effects. I mean, I gained weight, but it was okay because I was pregnant.
Oh, Mom, why don't you quit? I'm going to take your cigarettes and throw them away. This is bad for you. I'm going to cut them up. Don't do this. Oh, he tried everything. It didn't work, though, till I was ready.
Oh, constantly talks about my smoking. He just very much against cigarettes, and when I start coughing, he says, "You're gonna die." He knows it's awful. He begs for me to stop. I've told him I just can't do it for him. I can't do it for me, so... And I feel real bad about that. I was telling the people at work the other day at lunch, I said he'd be better off if I just died. And one of the nurses came to me later, and she said, "I think you need some help." She said, "We all care about you," and she was really shocked that I said that, but I meant it. 'Cause I'm not really a very good mother.
Just stop. Just put that cigarette out and just don't do it again. Just don't light another one. Although I know a lot of people can't do that, but they could try. But tapering doesn't help. So you just put it out and then you leave it go. That's all.
I did stop for 3 months. And all smokers rationalize. We all find excuses to start again. And I happened to be down by the seashore and seeing this elderly lady sitting on the porch, very elderly, smoking, and thought, oh, to heck with it. You know, she's all right. She's not, you know, she seems perfectly healthy. You know, this was observed all from a moving car, and started smoking again.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to quit smoking. They look at alcoholics and think, you know, how tough it is for the drunk to give up his booze, but they look at somebody that smokes and they get very self-righteous. You know, like, well, what's wrong with you? Why can't you quit smoking? You know, what's your problem? It's not like deciding to go to the movies. I mean, it's really, really tough.
What I found myself doing months after I had no longer smoked cigarettes was, this is when we were still letting people smoke in our home. If a friend would toss a pack of cigarettes on the table, I'd be talking to him and I'd have one shaken out and I'd think, oh, where'd that come from? And have to stick it back in the pack. It wasn't the physiological addiction, it was the psychological addiction. It was just the trigger of seeing a pack of cigarettes laying there, and without even thinking about it, it was so subliminal. I'd just shake one out and have it in my fingers ready to light up. And that took a long time to go away. I'd say that took almost a year for that to just leave me.
You don't say, I'm never going to have another one. That's what I tried all the other times. You can't do that, because suddenly the cigarette's your friend, and it's almost like I've told my friend I'm never, ever going to have him again. So I didn't say, I've quit smoking. I'm never going to have another one. I couldn't say that. I said, I'm not going to have one today. And then my husband for Christmas bought me a fake cigarette, and it has a little filter on it, and that's lovely. And when I get really nervous, I just hold it. And I don't use it as much now as I first did when I first started quitting. But it's nice if you're at a bar and everyone's having a cigarette and you need something to do with your hands, you hold a cigarette while you talk. It's very natural. Feels very good.
Can you think of anything that might make it easier for me?
But you never listen to me.
Well, you know, it's not as easy as you think, you know, it's... All right, I'll give you an example. My quitting smoking would be like me saying to you, you can never suck your thumb again. Okay? It's hard to stop something that you're used to doing. It's a habit.
I like to think that I'll stop. I like to think that when I'm older, I won't smoke anymore. but then what's older? You know, I mean, everybody says, I won't smoke when I'm older. But my mother's 44 and she's still smoking. And I don't want to be smoking when I'm 44. I think I'm going to stop when, I would like to stop maybe the next 10 years. I don't know. But I do not want to smoke for the rest of my life, but I don't know when I want to stop either.
I still don't know how it happened. You know, one cigarette in 1943 started this.
They make it look very glamorous. They make it look nice. They make it look romantic. You know, I mean, they're sitting at a table with candlelit dinner and the man reaches over and lights your cigarette. That's nice. You know, it shows you the chivalry is not dead. That's not real life, but it looks good. I'm all for no advertising. I really am. I don't want my kids to think the same things that I think. That, gee, that does look good. You know, or think that I have sons and think that if they're going to take someone out to dinner, they automatically are going to take their cigarette lighter so they can light their cigarettes over the dinner. You know.
I don't see that restricting their use legally stops anybody from doing it. If somebody wants to destroy themselves, they'll find a way to do it, no matter how many laws you pass and how many rules you make.
God help us if it's banded. I mean, the ones that are hooked, like myself, I mean, we wouldn't have any other choice but to get it from the black market. Unless the doctor can come through, maybe our government might come through with some of the money we're using on the taxes on our cigarettes and work something out medically that would take care of us that are addicted. So we can get off them. We can't get off of them, just somebody says cold turkey. There's just some of us that can't do it that way, and I just happen to be one of them.